The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. The Little Stranger. The Little Stranger. This is a difficult book for me to talk about, and I won't really make an attempt at properly reviewing this book. So these are just some of my rather disjointed, disconnected thoughts and opinions. I feel like this is just a weird book for me to talk about. I will refer you, if you're looking for a good review or for a proper book review for The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters, I will refer you to some other reviews, some other videos that some of my fellow colleagues, some of my fellow booktubers have put together. For example, very recently, Chris from the wonderful channel Chris Bookish Cauldron read and reviewed this book, and he loved it, and his review was so positive and so insightful and thought-provoking that I've watched it a couple of times. I've actually watched his review about 4 or 5 times since I finished reading the book. And every time that I watch his review or any of the other reviews that are out there on the booktubosphere that are so well informed and well put together, I just feel like this book grows on me. So yes, let's talk about The Little Stranger quickly. So, it's difficult. The struggle is real. The Little Stranger basically tells the story of Dr. Faraday, who is this middle-aged, like 40-year-old man, I think. He's in his 40s. And, you know, the action takes place, there's really no action at all, very little action. The story takes place in the English countryside, and Dr. Faraday lives in this town, and he is called upon to this house that you can see in the cover, this really ancient house, this manor house called Hundreds Hall, which is a great name. And this used to be a very fancy, rich, wealthy residence for this really fancy family. And actually, when Dr. Faraday was younger, when he was a child, his mother used to be a servant at the house at Hundreds Hall. And Dr. Faraday always had this kind of fantasies about the house and what happened inside the house, indoors, and what happened with the family and the people who inhabited this wonderful place. And so he always had a fascination for the house and the people living inside it. Now, when he is 40 years old and he's a doctor, and he's called upon to treat one of the members of the family, he starts getting involved with the house itself and with the people who live there, who are these mother and her 2 children who are like in the middle of in their mid-20s or something. And he gets involved with them, and that's pretty much the story. Now, I think this story works better as that, as a drama about the relationships between him and the family and all the weird things that start happening between them. However, this story also has a kind of ghost story component to it. Ultimately, it's not exactly a paranormal, creepy, supernatural kind of story, but it does have all the elements of a Victorian, you know, Gothic, Shirley Jackson, Edgar Allan Poe, Daphne du Maurier kind of thing, especially in the atmosphere. And that's something that I really, really loved about this book, how atmospheric it is. And it is creepy. It is a creepy book. It is a book that has such a rich, intense, dramatic tension that is real. That part of the book is really enjoyable. That aspect of the book, and even though I never found it actually scary, for example, Chris in his review and some other people mentioned there's a scene involving a nursery, and they've mentioned that this was just an incredibly tense and very frightening scene for them. I never actually found anything scary about it, but it is unsettling, and it is unsettling for me. It was unsettling anyway, in the same way that the movie Hereditary was unsettling. That kind of weird, that fine line between family drama and supernatural shit is going down, you know? And that's why I really liked the book. Now, I talked about this book last week, and I mentioned there in that video that I was kind of torn between my liking for the book, but there being certain elements and certain issues that I had with the book that I couldn't look away from, or that I couldn't put aside and deny and forget about, and that sort of prevented me from loving the book as much as some other people have. However, that was a week ago. So now that I've had a week of time to let it sink in and to properly think about it, I think I like the book more and more. I think it certainly has grown on me, and there are multiple readings of this book, and I think that's what makes it more interesting as you think on about it and as you let time pass by and you think and rethink it. This book is also, or it could be interpreted also as something to do with mental illness and with mental, let's say mental illness. And that is very interesting. Another reading is the ghost story, supernatural thing. That's another one. And the family drama. And of course, these are all connected. It's not one or the other. Everything is connected, and I think that's why the book is very successful. Now, if I had to compare this novel to the other Sarah Waters novel that I've read, Fingersmith, I don't know, because they're very, very different. I mean, if you have read both of these, or any one of these, they are just incredibly different. I mean, The Little Stranger is very slow, and that's not a weakness or a problem. It's just the way that it is. It's very slow-paced. I spent around 3 weeks reading it, and I mean, it also was a little bit of my fault because I decided to pick this book up in a moment of my life that is very chaotic and very hectic, and it was probably not the right moment to be reading such a slow, meditative, dramatic book as this one. And then the other one, Fingersmith, is quite the opposite. It's longer, but it is so riveting and so plot-driven and so full of cliffhangers and action, secrets and twists and turns. They're just very different books, very different experiences altogether. So, I don't know, if you have read Fingersmith, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend The Little Stranger, but I would say that if you enjoyed Sarah Waters' writing style in Fingersmith, you will love it here, because here, being a slow burner of a book, being a very quiet, very character-driven, dramatic, intense novel, the writing style really shines through. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about The Little Stranger. Originally, I gave it like a 3.5 stars, but I think this deserves more. Like I said, I think this book grows on me more and more. I think it's actually quite more impressive than I gave it credit at the beginning. I mean, when I finished it, I don't think I gave it enough credit. I think it's actually much better. And also, keeping it real and being honest about it, if I had read this book in a different time of my life, I would probably have enjoyed it more. So, my recommendation for you watching is, if you want to read The Little Stranger, if you haven't read it yet, I strongly advise you to read it during a time of your life that you will be able to just sit down and read it quickly as you can, not to not let a lot of time pass and just read it continuously, because I think you will get more out of it. I think it will taste better, if that makes any sense. So yeah, really liked it, but now I need something completely different. I need something fast, something with a lighter tone, something that I can finish quickly, and that's why I will be reading Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I am reading this, I am halfway through it, and it is delightful. It is, well, there's many things that I want to say about this when I'm done. But yeah, thanks for watching my review of The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. Thanks for watching. I am Just One Reader.